Inflation. I think right now we all wish it was just a buzzword that didn't have any actual effect on our lives. But inflation is affecting everything from gas to eating out to Amazon FBA, and all those prices are going up, like this week. But I feel like Amazon didn't just plaster this update everywhere, so you might not even know that it's happening. So today let's talk about the Amazon FBA fee increase that's happening actually in like a week, the 18th of January, and what it actually means for your business. But real quick, let's do a location check, because right now we're still in Irving, Texas, and some of us are having a better time than others. I planned to make this video when I got an email from Amazon saying, I think it was an email actually, that their fees were increasing, but I looked for that email and I could not find it anywhere. I'll have the reference link down below if you want to actually look at all this after this video. Forgot. We parked right next to the porta potties because it's a nice bathroom access, but there are people who just park here for that, so that stinks. Hopefully we don't have too many of those interruptions. But like I was saying, I'll have this link below. Let's just walk through what the updates are and the different types of fees that are increasing, and then we'll chat about what that means for your business. If we just go through the link that I have in the description, we get to this page, 2022 US referral and FBA fee changes summary. They really need to hold it until they get to their destination. They're interrupting our video. And essentially Amazon just kind of puffs himself up over these first full 3 paragraphs without a lot of substance that matters to you and me. A couple things are that they said that they welcome more than 200,000 new third-party sellers to the store, like me and you who are doing retailer online arbitrage, up 45% over the previous year, so a lot of people are getting into this. And they said that the number of American sellers who surpassed $1 million in sales grew by nearly 15%. These next couple paragraphs just say some stuff about different updates that they have going on this year that pertain more to kind of private label stuff than it does arbitrage, and just kind of what they did to increase their facilities. And then we get into this last paragraph right here that goes over the reasoning why they're doing this fee change. They say, throughout the pandemic, we worked to support you, postponing and keeping fee changes low, reducing or eliminating fees. And then this clause kind of annoys me. They said, and absorbing billions of dollars in increased costs on your behalf. It's like, no, you didn't do it on our behalf. You wouldn't have done it just for our sake. You literally just said that American sellers who surpassed $1 million in sales grew by 15%, and you get fees on all those sales. And there were more than 200,000 new sellers, and those sellers might not have come to your platform if you didn't absorb those costs. So that's just kind of annoying where they're trying to toot their own horn, but they didn't do it for us. They did it so that they can make more money. That's how these businesses work. And then they get to real reasoning. As you've seen widely reported in the press and have likely experienced yourselves, costs are rising and we need now to make adjustments for the next year's fee structure in response. I personally have experienced a lot of the rising costs. You probably have too, especially just with gas and going to eat out, which is why those were the 2 examples that I gave. But let's see kind of what they're doing. They say in 2022, we will adjust FBA fees to partially offset the higher permanent operating costs we will face going forward. And then they say that this is still going to keep them lower than other service logistics providers. And they're saying that their fees will remain 30% less expensive than if you were to do merchant fulfilling if you send stuff in FBA, which I don't know because I don't do any merchant fulfilling, but I haven't been too mad about Amazon FBA fees because doing this allowed me to quit my job. Then they have all of the different fees and how they're specifically going to change. We're not going to walk through every single fee, and some stuff might pertain to you more than others, but since I just do retail arbitrage and I'll buy and send in whatever I can. What did I say about sirens in the last video? They're always sirens. I feel like we need like a siren tracker, like X videos, since there wasn't a siren. So let's just go through the fees that are going to pertain to you and me. And like I said, this is linked below in case you have any specific cases. The first one is the FBA fulfillment fee changes. If you haven't dove into Amazon fees before, you might not know a lot about these already, and so it's a good time to learn and get refreshed. But they're saying on January 18th, 2022, so a week from yesterday when you're watching this video, these will go into effect. And then the 3 types of fees that they're going to go over are core FBA fees, which is the main thing that we'll talk about. Then they have specific ones for apparel and for dangerous goods, which are like hazmat items. Like if you ever send in a spray can, you probably have to get approved to send that in first. Really the important thing with these fees is looking at the percentage increase between them. And on the left side of the page over here, we'll have before January 18th and then after. So after the fees will change. You can see the fees change a decent bit, but not like a crazy inordinate amount. And it looks like this is pretty standard across the board, but if you look at the small standard, 6 ounces or less, it costs $2.70 for the fulfillment fee, which is like them picking it and packing it and shipping it off to the customer before January 18th. And now it's going to cost $2.92, which is a 22-cent difference. It's increasing by 8.1%. And I think that's pretty similar across the board on most of these fees. And if we look at inflation, since they haven't changed since 2020, from 2020 to 2022, we'll see that the rate in 2020 was 1.23% low inflation. Then it's now 6.81, and 1.23 plus 6.81 is right around what their fee changes are. Their fees are a little bit higher than inflation, but relatively in line with it. That's kind of the baseline number that we're going to be looking for, the rate of inflation, because that's going to be important when we see what this actually will mean for your business. And some of the fees don't even increase that much. Like if we're looking at like 6 ounces or less large charge standard, it only increases by 7 cents, which is 2%, so lower than inflation. But now what I'm going to be looking through as we look through these different fees and talk through them are any fees that are outliers that are way bigger than inflation, and we can talk about why that might be the case, or just commiserate that it's lame. So apparel looks like is at right around 9% of an increase in fees instead of like right around 8%, which is still pretty in line. And they give you some examples for what this might mean, but honestly, this is really only important if you're doing private label stuff. When you're doing online or retail arbitrage, you probably have apps that you use either on your computer or on your phone to look at fees for you. So I right now use Scoutify 2 and Scout IQ, mostly just Scoutify 2. When I search up an item, I'm just going to go to my history over here. I was looking this up at REI because it was on sale, but it was not nearly good enough. We can see the list price is $10.95, and then it shows what it is after fees, so it's already calculating the fees for you. And I never make my purchasing decisions based on the list price. I always make it based off of what it says the net profit is, which is essentially what you're getting back since I haven't put in a cost yet. So unless you're sending new items to Amazon that have never been on there, you won't really have to worry about this too much because it'll already be built into the fees that are being calculated for you. But this is still important to know because it'll help us see which categories might become less profitable or less worth it to source if any of them are big outliers for inflation. There is an FAQ section down here, and the one important question that it does answer is, will the fee changes apply to products ordered before January 18th? And the answer to that is yes if it leaves the fulfillment center after the 18th, because the fulfillment fees are calculated not when an item is bought, but when an item leaves the center. So let's go back here and go on to the next one, monthly storage fee and aged inventory surcharge, which is more important than just pick and pack FBA fulfillment fees, because this is something that you'll have to worry about as a seller doing private label, online, or retail arbitrage. These fees don't quite go into effect as soon. They start February 1st, 2022, because they have to start at the beginning of a month because they're monthly fees. You can see that they're actually increasing a little bit higher than inflation. It was 75 cents per cubic foot. They've increased it about 10.5% to 83 cents per cubic foot. Interestingly, they haven't seemed to change the prices for Q4. So October through December, it's still $2.40 per cubic foot, even after this takes effect. But honestly, with this, you shouldn't be getting storage fees anyways because you're trying to limit the inventory that you have and maintain your inventory effectively. Oversize, it also increases just over 10%, which is not great. So just make sure that your inventory is selling through, meaning that if your inventory is getting older, you drop the price even to a point where you either break even or lose money, so you can cycle that back through more inventory. And I have videos about how to do that here and why you should do that right here, because you will actually make so much more money selling for a loss and recycling that back into new inventory, and this video will show you how. This is interesting. They're also adjusting fees for how long your inventory is at Amazon. This is also taking effect a little later, May 15, 2022, and it used to be that you wouldn't get any charges if your inventory was within 270 to 365 days at Amazon, so 9 to 12 months. Now they're changing it, so you're gonna get charged $1.50 per cubic foot every single 15th of the month if you have inventory that's 271 to 365 days deep. And that's something that I'm gonna have to go back through my inventory and make sure I don't have, because I don't wanna get charged at $1.50 per cubic foot. But it looks like they haven't changed the over 365 day amount, which is so much more expensive, 4 times more. So really make sure your inventory gets out of Amazon within 365 days, and now within about 9 months. Now we have Amazon referral fee changes, which is just the fee that gets charged when an item is purchased, and they really aren't a lot of changes with this. It's just lawnmowers. I don't sell lawnmowers. I doubt you sell lawnmowers or snow throwers, so I'm not super worried about referral fee changes. The next interesting one is removal and disposal order fees, which are something that everybody has to deal with, especially if we're talking about getting rid of inventory before it's been in the fulfillment center for 9 months or 12 months. These also will take effect in a week on January 18th, and these are the fees that I am a little more frustrated on, because these are going to be so much more expensive to deal with, which is why you need to make sure you're buying the correct inventory, because every time you have to get stuff removed, it's going to cost you like double the amount of money now. But I do think there might be a reason for that, and we'll get to that in a second. Basically, if we take the numbers in this column, the 32 cents, 35 cents, 48 cents, 67 cents, and double them, we'll just about get less than what the new fees are. I think this is kind of because this is more of like a punitive fee, like you did something wrong in your business, not just a cost of doing business. So sellers who are getting started might not think this is something they're gonna have to deal with as much, and so it's one of the bigger fees that Amazon's able to recoup some of those costs that they've incurred in building up their infrastructure and raising their wages and stuff like that, without it seeming too egregious to their sellers, because this is something that you will have to deal with, and it's just like money literally coming out of your pocket. But this is for removal orders, so getting an item sent back to you. Actually, just kidding, it's removal or disposal order. I thought it used to be that the disposal was cheaper. I thought it was only 10 cents instead of 30 cents. But it looks like they're actually the same. You're still getting charged that much. And I think the other reason for that is Amazon is really trying to push their liquidation service, if we look down here. And this is why I think that they say liquidation fees will remain unchanged. Amazon will apply 2 separate fees to each item you liquidate.
What's it cost to convert one of those over?
Okay. I don't even know where I was. That was like 5 minutes of some guy coming and jabbering about the van, which is cool, and I normally don't mind. But when I'm filming, I did get to take some thumbnails though. Liquidations. Okay, so there are 2 fees on liquidated items, and this is a new way that they're having you remove stuff instead of getting it sent back to you or just donating it or disposal order. Where essentially you'll sell it to a third-party company, which is why I think I've been seeing some Amazon labels at like TJ Maxx, which is very weird. But they'll charge a 50% fee calculated on the gross recovery value, so however much they're going to sell it, I guess the liquidation company is going to sell it for. And then there's a processing fee based on the size and the weight. And these fees are just going to be the same as what they were. And I've actually noticed that liquidations can be good. I did have to remove some stuff just by disposal order because I wasn't able to send in more inventory until it got out of there. And liquidations take a little longer to do than disposal or removal orders. But just last month, I made like $10 in liquidations, which is pretty nice. And I talked about that in my income video that I put out last week. And that was after all the fees and everything. So that's a big plus. But I do think that they're trying to really disincentivize you from removing or disposing items because that takes a lot more time, and Amazon's going to make so much more because they're taking 15% of the gross recovery value. So if it's a $10 thing, that's as much as this 1 pound oversized item on their smallest item, plus they're going to take an extra quarter. So they're making a lot more money from liquidations, and that can also be helpful for you if you have inventory that you can liquidate. But that's why these fees, I think, are increasing so much. And there's a difference between this and the fulfillment fees, where these fees are based on when an order is placed. So if you have to get anything out of the fulfillment center, I would do it before January 18th because your fees are going to more than double after that. 2 more quick different types of fees are the small and light program, which currently I'm not enrolling anything additional in. I really should be, but these fees aren't going up by too crazy an amount, and they're increasing the weight limit for small and light, which is really good because that means you can enroll a lot more items to pay less fees on. They'll increase the weight limit from 12 ounces to 3 pounds, and these are their fee changes. It just goes up by about 8 to 9%, but they have all these new sizes with much more cost, but you can enroll up to 3 pounds in small and light, and the fees are kind of going up at the average rate of all the other fees on Amazon, which is pretty indexed for inflation except for the removal and disposal orders. And then the last fee change is on prep and label service fee charges, and I personally have never incurred any of these fees, and I don't plan on it because I do all my prep myself, and when I'm starting online arbitrage, I'm going to have a prep center who's going to do it all for me because Amazon charges a lot. Even before that, this is way too much. Prep and labeling is $1.10 for fragile items. Beforehand, for apparel, like with polybagging and labeling, it's 50 to 80 cents per every single item. That's so much, and you take like maybe 10 seconds per item. They are increasing these fees by a decent bit, actually more than I thought. So labeling is just going up across the board from 30 cents to 55 cents, so almost doubling. So please just label your own items or do manufacturer labeling so you don't have to pay that 55-cent fee. And then there are additional things for polybagging as well. It looks like it's going from 50 to 70 cents, and the other fees are staying relatively consistent. So just do your own prep work and you won't have to worry about it. So my job editing just got so much harder. I saved my screen recording. When you save it, it just goes down right here. And I guess it doesn't save automatically to the desktop, and so I pulled it from there to iMovie because I have to render it before I put it into my other editing software. It just didn't save. And this is what I get. It says nothing is there. And I've searched all over my computer, all my temporary files, everything it says online, and I can't find it. So I had a screen recording, and it was going to be so simple, but now I have to go re-screen record that. That's so annoying. Okay, frustration mostly over. What does this actually mean for your business? And in truth, the answer is not very much, especially if you're doing online or retail arbitrage. If you're doing private label or creating new products and sending them into Amazon, you might have to worry about this a little bit more. But if you're just finding products that already have listings, those fees are already worked into the cost on whatever app or software you're using to do that. And if you have good rules like I talk about here, that won't change very much. But some categories will be hit by inflation harder than others, and so you might find that you're not able to source as much of one category as you are of another. So worst case scenario, you'll find a few less deals, but make sure that you're not doing as many removal or disposal orders. Try more liquidations and hone in your sourcing skills. And this playlist with all my sourcing vlogs will help you to do that. I hope your workday is a little bit better than mine's just become. Peace.